I hate when you put me on the spot. It's the worst part. Welcome to episode 7 of Behind the Glass, sponsored by Never Made It Pro Stock and the Center Ice Foundation of Central Ohio. I can't let it go. I just can't let that go.
Yeah, that was your worst one so far, though. I give that one.
I'm sorry. I was nervous today. I don't know why. As usual, I'm Chad Kuvo. I'm joined here with my little brother, Vinny Kuvo, and my other brother, essentially, Adam Kiefer. And
those are boys.
Luckily, today we're joined with an Indy Fuel player, Mr. Craig Wyszomirski. I think I did okay. Who is now going to be ever aforementioned as Wiz in this episode. But really awesome to have you on. Really cool. Pretty excited about the questions we're going to ask, and we'll start with the normal one we do with everybody, kind of the entry into it. How'd you get into hockey from the beginning?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, obviously, thanks for having me on, guys. Pumped to chat with you guys. But
awesome.
It's nothing too crazy. My dad played growing up. He was a psycho Polak, running around the rinks and stuff like that. So he actually never really forced me into hockey or really tried to get me into hockey. But I had a neighbor kind of behind us who had an outdoor rink.
Cool.
And he was skating on it, and I kind of went over and grabbed a stick and was just kind of pushing pucks around and stuff. And my dad asked me, he was like, "Do you think you'd want to try something like this?" So, and of course I didn't know any better. I said, "Of course." And I think he was like, "Okay, well, let's go for skating lessons first." And we did that, and I took to it pretty quickly. I didn't mind falling around. I'd like sliding on my belly and all that. And then next thing you know, I was playing Adams and playing on outdoor rinks and just fell in love with it. And it was right around the time of Mighty Ducks and everything too. And, Charlie Conway and the actual Mighty Ducks, because I was born in 92. So it all just kind of I thought Paul Correa was Charlie Conway and vice versa. So
that's fantastic.
It just all kind of fit and never looked back from there. I think I was 5 years old when that all started.
You grew up in Jersey, right?
Yep, North Jersey, just outside New York City.
Nice.
So who'd you play youth hockey for then? I assume the Avalanche, maybe?
Yeah, exactly. So I played in Hackensack for the Avalanche, and we had a beast of a year where we, that birth year, that 92 birth year, did really, really well. We ended up winning nationals in Alaska. One year. Was so cool.
Oh, that's so sick.
Yeah, it was unreal. It was a great bunch of guys, just great team, great parents, everything just flowed perfectly.
I think that's the only way that can happen.
Right? It has to. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I know back in the days of all the parents hitting up the manager saying "Oh, my son had this assist, my son had that assist." There really wasn't any of that, point hogging and all that. It was just good people that loved to go to tournaments. The dads all loved to drink together. The moms loved to hang out. And it was a good.
That really makes it to be successful. I mean, that can be a key.
I can't wait for those days. When I'm a dad, just bringing my son all around and drinking in the hotel bar.
What's crazy is I'm kind of through on the other side where I don't want to go anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, you can go, cool, yeah. But it was a great run while it lasted, though.
It's being in the trenches. I assume
it is. I mean, it's a grind. Especially Kiefer and I both know it's a grind. Being a hockey parent's a grind, especially if you're going to play high level hockey, man. We all kind of grew up playing some sort of it. It's definitely not that easy.
100%. I remember getting in the car at 5 a.m. and all I had to do was just get in the back and go to sleep. My dad driving all over. The days too where you didn't have navigation, you had to read directions off the.
I remember some of the biggest fights my parents ever got into were on the way to find Fort DuPont in Washington D.C. because of because he was just screaming at her because she couldn't read the map, and God forbid she drove.
The best invention ever, God bless the guy who made the TV in the back with the headphones and everything, because what, for me and my sister, who, credit to her, came on every trip. We just throw our headphones on, throw in the 15 of the same movies on repeat and just, wake us when you get there. So didn't have to hear mom and dad go at it and duke it out.
That's fantastic. So I got to ask, in your career, in your path that you had, you went to Providence for a year and then went back to the BC, right? I mean, I see that a little bit, but that's kind of crazy. That's a little bit different of a path, right? I mean, essentially, what led to that?
Yeah. So it's a lot more common now, I feel like. At the time, I think it was kind of unheard of, or it necessarily didn't happen. And it was just, it kind of was what it was. I was a true freshman coming out of gunnery, and I had played, had a good senior season, and I got recruited to Providence by Tim Army. So I was headed there. I was all excited. And then he ended up leaving Providence, a little bit before that summer, where I was going into my freshman year. And then Nate Lehman had come in. He had brought some of his recruits in as well. And honestly, like looking back now, I just don't know that I was fully ready for that freshman year.
Yeah, that's got to be tough. I mean, even then that wasn't a common thing, I assume. I mean, now it's really not common. It's it doesn't happen much, but that's pretty crazy. That had to be a pretty crazy year for you.
Yeah, and knowing what I know now about diet, nutrition, taking care of your body and where my body is at now and like maturity wise and stuff, I just don't know that it was the right play for me to go in as a true freshman. And credit to Nate Lehman too. He was honest with me. And it was kind of just a mutual decision where it was like, hey, this may not be the right fit. So it was, really mutual.
That's pretty neat though. But you go from way on the East Coast, way to the other side of the world. That's the first time you really left the East Coast, right? To go to the BC. Yeah. I mean, for a long period of time.
And it was scary too, because I really grinded where, I wanted to be in Hockey East, and, the BCs, the BU, the Providence, like, to me, that was the NHL for me. And then it was kind of like, okay, that's all said and done with. I think I played like 4 games sporadically. So I know the only part I was frustrated with was I never really got to showcase what I could do. But,
did you develop? Do you feel like you developed well for the year? I mean, essentially, did you get better? Or, does not playing that much hurt?
No, in the gym, I did. I got stronger, a bit here and there. But like at the end of the day, you have to play, and that was part of the factor of my decision. Was like where I was like, okay, hey, appreciate the honesty, but I have to play. So that was kind of why. I took the risk. I still had a year of eligibility as far as like junior wise.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I'll gamble on myself. Worst comes to worst. If it doesn't work out, we'll reevaluate from there. And I'm happy I did, because that year in Surrey was so much fun. Kind of went, college hockey's tough. It's a really tough game. You kind of feel like the leash is very, very short with it being such a short season. So I actually, to go to Surrey where like, you play 50, 60 games or whatever. And the coach just kind of turned to me and was like, listen, just go play. Just like have fun, like reinvent yourself, all that stuff.
Good.
And you're the show in town, right? I mean, you're like the show. I mean, that's especially Surrey's not a big town, right? I mean, can't be too many people. It's got to be pretty awesome to market to play into.
And it's beautiful too. Yeah. Like you're right on the water, all that. And that was actually that summer I had started training with this guy, Ben Prentice, in Connecticut. And he's the best to ever do it. Like, all those other guys are really good that you hear about, the famous gurus, but Ben Prentice, like literally transformed my body into where I could be, I think I gained like, 15 pounds or something like that. And was able to like handle it though, and not just be like I was lean, I was strong, all that stuff. Awesome. So helped me sort of be like a bit of a beast, and I just felt so good that whole season that like I stuck with Ben. I still do his workouts today just to stay in shape, because he's that good. He's a man. So
So a lot of what we're trying to do with this pod is to kind of like untangle the web of all the different paths that you can go through hockey. So I'm going to take you back a little bit. So you're coming out of 16U playing AAA, right? And then you got a bunch of options probably on the table and trying to figure out what's the best path for you. So you ended up going the prep school route. Great choice. We're big advocates for that. But what other options were you considering, and what made you end up landing to go for prep school?
Yep. So I had the option of going junior A with the Jersey Hitmen. I think the New Hampshire Monarchs were also on the table as well. Ultimately, I want to say it was just, I knew I was going to be a go-to guy at Gunnery. You know, again, I was a really, really late bloomer. You know, when growing up, I wasn't really like, you know, top 2, top 4 defenseman. I was like, you know, 4, 5, 6 in that area, like really had the upside, but I had size, you know, so there was that. And I kind of, you know, I knew in talking with the coaches, the kids who have been there, like they were looking at me to come in and really like lead the show a little bit.
Did you take the education into factor too? I mean, I assume that the education's pretty tough at Gunnery.
Yeah, I mean, and that was a plus side too, is like you're getting prepared for college, you're learning those skills of time management and all that. That was a small part of it, but like to a 16-year-old.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You're like, I'm going to the I don't play school, but no. I'm happy I did that because it really did help me in the long run. And like I said before, like you just got to play. Like if you're good enough, they'll find you. So that was my main thing, was like I could go to the Hitmen, I could go to the Monarchs and be, you know, 5, 6, 7, or go to Gunnery and be, you know, 1, 2, 3. And that to me, I was like, all right, I'm sold.
Yeah. And not a ton of guys go from prep school to Division I college, and you did make that leap. Good for you.
Yeah, and it was. I want to say too, like the coaching staff there were like some of the best guys. Like, you know, Chris Baudo, Chris Badger, Ari Baum, you know, Peter Whitney. Those are guys who like just loved hockey and taught us. Like at Gun, I learned things at all levels, but like Gunnery, I learned to like just love to compete. As cliche as that is, but
it's one of the biggest things, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
important. Yeah, like our coach wanted, like if you lost the game, to like not take it personal, but like let it eat away at you, so that like the next time you come out, like you're foaming at the mouth, like just turn into like a dog, and just like we used to do some of the most ruthless drills, but it just helped me like I say a thing to you know, my teammates growing up, like when it's like the third period and there's 5 minutes left and we're up or we're trying to, you know, come back, I always say prison rules in front of the net. And I learned that from Gunnery. Just pick up sticks, put down bodies, just, you know, anything that moves, hit it, you know, all that stuff. And I learned that. I learned to love that. I learned to love like a little bit of pain and suffering from blocking a shot and stuff at Gunnery. So I'm so happy I went there and got to experience that little chaos.
Oh yeah. So going to Surrey as an American, were you worried about being an American playing in the BC, or how was that experience? I know you said it was good, but being an American in the Canadian junior leagues is a different animal.
You know what? That team was so much fun. That we just had some of the best guys. And it was like to the point where I fell in love with Canada like so much that I used to I changed my backstory, and I was just like, no, I'm a big old Albertan from the Okotoks farm and stuff. And I'm
good old Western boy.
And the guys were looking at me like, what is wrong with you?
You're from Jersey, man.
Same skill set. So it worked out. You ended up hooking up with Merrimack College right after that experience. How did that come about?
Yeah, you know what? There were a couple schools that were interested, and it was very, you know, high level at this point. It was just, you know, they're taking a peek, and then I always knew ultimately like I wanted to go back to Hockey East, and I kind of had my eye on Merrimack because I just looked at the roster. I knew they were losing some D. I knew they were losing a big defenseman.
Made sense for you.
Yeah. So I was like, it might be a good fit. Lo and behold, I think Merrimack saw me at a showcase or one of the games, and they, came flying out and saw me a couple times. And then I went and visited over Christmas, which was actually like pretty early. A lot of the older guys, the 20-year-olds, don't get don't do visits until like after Christmas or towards the end of the season. And they offered me on the spot. And I liked that it was a small school. Obviously loved that it was Hockey East and stuff, and they had a good reputation. So I was like, I'm in. Like, let's do this thing. I think they were one of the first offers I got in the BC, so I took it.
May I ask, did you have an advisor or anything like that throughout this process? Was that the route you went on that end?
I did. I had his name was Tim Sheehy. He was great. His brother Neil, I think, represents Parise. And
so Neil is Kyle Mead's representative because
nice.
Mark's one of his best friends. That's sorry, Wiz. One of my close friends is good friends with Neil, and he represents his kid.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's funny. What a weird small world.
Yeah, and it's funny because like Neil's very into like some of the holistic approaches with like, I don't know if you've heard any stories about this, have you?
A little, yeah.
So like all I know is I'm in Vernon once, and like I just came back from like a shoulder thing or something like that, and like he started teaching me about like the plates in your mouth and how they like can move around. And so I'm like literally like on a kitchen table like moving plates in my mouth, trying to explain it to me, and like I don't know, like maybe it worked, maybe it didn't. Like I for quite some time, but
as long as you thought it worked, it
felt great.
Maybe placebo effect, but I bought it. Like you could literally tell me to drink anything, and I'll like do whatever.
So did you get your degree? Did you get your degree from Merrimack because you had the year of Providence? Do you have a degree from Merrimack?
So while I was in Surrey, I was also doing courses online. So I got my associate's degree, I got my I got my undergrad degree, and then I got my master's.
Oh, you're the man. That's what that's like the greatest idea in the world.
Clean sweep. It just worked out. So yeah.
That's awesome. Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's sick.
Kiefer just finished getting his master's again.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he has to pay for it though.
Yeah, there was no scholarship in my offering, let me tell you. So Michael Babcock, was that Mike Babcock's kid on your team at Merrimack?
Yep. Yes, it was.
What was that like? Did Babs come around for some free coaching advice?
I never really saw his dad around much. I know he came to maybe a few games here and there, but like, I didn't want to be the guy who was like, hey, help my game. But
can you imagine that being your dad? That's gotta be.
He's actually I listened to him talk at the level 5 clinic for USA Hockey. He's actually like,
it's still that's your dad.
Yeah.
Like if he was my dad, I'd play the trumpet. Like the farthest
far
thing
away from
possible
hockey.
away
Yeah.
from what. Like,
yeah. I mean, that's tough. But his kid so I was actually playing forward at Merrimack, and I was on Mikey's line, and he was our centerman, and we were fourth line, and he'd chip it in. We'd go bang bodies and do what we could. He's an awesome kid. He's one of the nicest guys. Like little fire plug too. Good hockey player.
Nice.
He was a blast to be around.
Yep. So the college days came to an end, and then you're at a crossroads, right? What are you going to do? Are you going to use that graduate degree? You're going to take a shot at the pros? What was your thought process there?
Honestly, I didn't have the best numbers when it came to college, because like, being a 6'4", 220-pound defenseman that, plays a heavy physical role, like it works in some aspect in college, but like, man, like I got referees looking at me left, right, and center, and like, I didn't put up any numbers. Like I didn't score my first goal until senior year. And I just, like I said, like college is tough. Sometimes you just feel like you have the shortened leash and like you're afraid to make a mistake. And I felt like I played that way up until like the second half of my senior year. And we struggled at Merrimack too. So it was, it was just tough all around. But I kind of told my agent at the time, I was like, if we can get something, let's try it. And lo and behold, Manchester came through and asked me to play kind of as like a utility guy. They were like, we need a forward/defenseman. So I went in and like, it just could not have been a better fit. And like the coach, Rich Seeley, one of my favorite coaches to this day, and the assistant coach, Jeff Giuliano, literally just looked at me like, hey, go do your thing. Whatever it is you do, like, go do it. Don't even worry about it. And like something just clicked with like some guys aren't good in college and they're better in pro and vice versa.
Yeah.
I just felt so much more at home in the pro style of hockey yeah, exactly. Like they gave me great minutes. Like they put a lot of trust in me. They helped me develop too, like before and after practice.
I have to assume they respect that game a little bit more than at the college level too. I mean, it's a lot. That's a playable piece at the pro level. A lot.
Exactly.
I mean,
yeah.
That's
like
awesome.
I can't go out there and put my hands on somebody and like, start the fire for our team.
Yeah.
I'd be exonerated. So.
But then at the pros, you bring value when you do that. So.
Yeah.
So I got to ask you, what's it like the first AHL call up? What's that like? I mean, you're kind of grinding it out. Did that happen early on in the ECHL season that year, or was it middle? Do you remember?
Dude, that was total and utter shock. Because I was like, you have to understand, like I was a senior, junior senior that was in and out of the lineup in Merrimack, who was like, I don't know if any like a coast team or even like an SP team would call me with my numbers. Mm-hmm. And then, lo and behold, I'm in Manchester, and Manchester signed me like September 28th. Camp starts like the 5th or something like that. Didn't go to A camp, didn't go to NHL camp, none of that. So like I show up and I'm like, I need to make something happen here. I'm getting
here I am.
I'm getting cut. So, lo and behold. Oh, and that was the other thing too, is we had so many A guys down that I didn't play a game. I didn't really play until like November. Like I went all of October pretty much, not playing. And like our coach was just, such a great guy. He was like, he'd come up to me, like some coaches like try to bullshit you and they're like, hey, you're not doing this. Yeah. That's why you're out. And he would come up to me. He's like, hey, it's nothing you're doing. It's just numbers. Stay with it. You're doing great. And you're doing great in practice, doing this, you're doing all the right things. Just stay with it. Like, we're going to use you. We're going to need you. And then you're never coming out. And like, that's awesome. I believed him. So
yeah,
November hits and I just, start playing really well, start playing hard, simple, like kind of understand what makes me successful, not trying to do too much. And then we get back, I think it was like Christmas or right after Christmas, like January. And our assistant coach, who's just like the best guy in the world, he's like a player's coach pretty much, comes up to me, he goes, hey, like, I'm thinking you're probably going up to Ontario soon. And I was like, like what? Like, why? I was like, who died? And he's like, he goes, dude, they saw a video, like they want to pull you up, they need some numbers and they need a big left shot defenseman right now. And I was like, oh shit. So I was like, and I thought too, like, me being the idiot I am, I was like, oh, on Ontario, Canada. Okay. I was like, why would LA's team be? And he's like, no, Ontario, California, you moron. All right, shit. But I was so like, and when I finally got the call up, which is another funny story in itself, but I was just like, I was so like, so nervous, so scared, so happy. Like I don't know.
What's the flight like? I mean, literally, because I assume all that happens. It's not like you have like a week to get out there. They're like, hey, you're in a week. I mean, every time you move, you're moving within a couple of hours, essentially, right?
100%. I've been called up there a couple times, and it's one time was I like prepared for it, where I could pack properly and like, bring suitcases and bring everything I need. But like 9 times out of 10, it was like, hey, they need you for tonight, or they need you for tomorrow morning or whatever. So you're getting in at like, the only thing that's nice is like you pick up some sleep. So at least it's like
When you're
not that bad, but
you're going back 3 hours.
yeah, it's a grind, that flight, which I completely understand why they moved the AHL team out there.
That's
Makes
awesome.
sense.
Really, really, really cool. So just that whole perspective, especially of the movement and everything like that, I can't imagine. I mean, we could, you know, I Kiefer, Vin, do you have more questions about that space between there? I'm kind of excited to talk about what brings them back this year whenever we got to that point. I just want to make sure that I'm not jumping ahead.
So I'm kind of interested in like how the pandemic affected
Oh, that was a
the
good
East,
one. Yeah, I'm sorry.
yeah, the East Coast League. Like, you know, most of these guys aren't making tons of money, right? So when that league shuts down, that's hurting a lot of people. So what was that like for you and your buddies, and how'd you guys survive that?
It was really hard because you know, from like, you know, one thing where it just kind of, it sucked, period, because it was like, you know, I remember we were playing on green ice for St. Patty's Day on a Wednesday in Kalamazoo, and we went out,
And then the next week.
What a place.
yeah, seriously, like the game was like watching paint dry. Like, it was miserable to be a part of, but we ended up winning 1-0. You know, we get on the bus, and you know, our coach was just like, he's like, saddle up, boys. I think this might be the end of the season. 2 days later, I'm back, you know, at home. And I was just like, and it sucked too, because I knew kind of like that was probably going to be it for me, maybe. Like, I was 1 foot in, 1 foot out, but I was having so much fun. Like, it was my first year being like like wearing the C on my jersey. Like, we were starting to become a wagon too. Like, we were, you know, we were really like, we were moving up the leaderboard and shit. And, you know, we were looking good for playoffs, and, you know, Indy's a great place to play. It just like, it sucks so much from that point of view. And then you're like, oh shit, like we may not be getting paid. But I was lucky enough to, in my first call up in Ontario, I got to meet Biz. So like, you know, and he's a good dude. Like, you know, we met very, very briefly. And realistically, you know, I don't know even how it happened, but like, you know, we end up following each other and stuff. And I forget even how it happened, but I know he made an announcement kind of about wanting to help out the ECHL guys.
Yeah, I do remember
and
that.
I think I sent him like a little, like a DM or whatever, and just said, hey man, like, you know, really appreciate you even taking notice of this. If you need any help, you know, let me know. And then, you know, fast forward, him and I were on the phone, and we were kind of just brainstorming ideas a little bit. And he was
it's wild because I remember when we talked to you and we looked through your thing, when we met you, or Vinny met you the first time, that was one of the questions we asked, because you had just played there and you were like, oh, not really. I just met him. He was really nice to me, but I didn't really know him. So to come back around to this story now is pretty cool. That's really neat.
Yeah. And he, you know, he worked closely with Derek Nesbitt, who I believe is in Atlanta too. And, you know, it was really like, I didn't really do much. I was just kind of helping like facilitate like what some of the player reps were saying and what he was saying and what they wanted to do. And I know we had a big Zoom call too, where he jumped on for a little bit. But I just thought that was so cool of those guys, you know, who obviously have this big platform to like even take notice of, you know, some of the guys in their financial situations. Cause you know, it's not just guys trying to milk, you know, one more year out of the real world or something, you know, staying away from the real world. No. It's guys with families. It's guys, you know, trying to pursue a dream as well. It's guys, you know, trying to pay for a house, like all that shit. It's important. Like, and for them to, you know, step up and help out with that was so cool to see. So
that's really cool.
I got one more question about your AHL experience. So I was looking through like the Ontario Reign roster. I think it was in 2018. You had like 30 games up with them, I think. And looking at that roster, you had guys like Matt Moulson and guys who were in the show for a long time. What's it like being in that room with guys who were, you know, like in the show for a long time, and then you got 20, 21-year-old guys like just cracking in? Like, what was that whole experience like with that group?
It's awesome. It was so much fun to be a part of. Like, it's hilarious too to watch like the interactions between like the 20 to 21-year-olds who are like, you love them to death, but they're so helpless in so many different ways. And then you're watching
like your little brother, right?
You're watching like Matt Moulson, you know, who's one of the best players I think I've ever been on the ice with, like trying to explain stuff like life shit to them. And you're just like, you're putting your heads in your hands and laughing. Cause like, you know, Moulson and I actually used to train at the same gym with that guy, Ben Prentice. So I knew Moley for a little bit of time. So it was so cool to like be on his team, and like, you know, he actually assisted on my first AHL goal too. And I think he celebrated harder than I did.
Oh, that's great.
Which was
awesome.
Yeah, which was awesome. But like, you know, our coach was Mike Stuthers, who again is one of my favorites to this day. And watching Stutz interact with some of these younger guys that, again, I say helpless in the nicest way possible. It was just like, it was comedy 24/7. But that was
it's got to be even more amazing, even after, you know, having that year. Just the young kids have to be amazing.
The thing that's funny to me, right, is probably now in hindsight, all of them who are 25, 26, like my age, I'll be like, yep, I had no idea. Like I was completely helpless. So yeah, I agree.
Exactly. Like some of the questions they would ask is just like, you know, there's no stupid questions, obviously, but you just like, you put your head.
I have an almost 18-year-old that plays hockey, and once he's going to go play juniors probably somewhere, and there are some stupid fucking questions.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, there are some dumb ones, and I can imagine what like a 20-year-old hockey player is asking Matt Moulson about. That's what goes through my mind, because my kid's not that far off, so I can.
Yeah. Wow. Oh my God, it's phenomenal.
That's fantastic. Van, you have anything else in that
Yeah, I have a small question, just because I think it was, you know, on the topic of like, you know, what do we do? You know, what was the plan when the pandemic hit and COVID and all that stuff? So we follow you on Instagram, so we know that you're also into modeling or a model of some sort. So I would love
Wilhelmina, that's a big modeling company.
I know. I would love to hear a little bit of that story and how you got into that, because I mean, we're just, you know, on the entrepreneurial side, we love anyone who, like, obviously, you got a good thing going in hockey. You got your master's degree, you're modeling. So it's like, love to see all the different avenues that you're going through. So just wanted you to touch on that if you could.
That's a good one, man.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I wish I had a better story, but I know I had done a shoot for this hockey clothing brand called Puck. It's spelled PVCK.
It's on your hat.
Yep. Oh yeah, exactly. Jesus. Wakey. You know, this guy Wayne Best started it and stuff, and it's, you know, it's really cool. His vision was, you know, kind of like a RVCA, kind of like surf hockey brand, you know, mix type thing, and I love that. So I think they needed a guy to help out with some photos and stuff. So, you know, I went, and there was, you know, they had a real photographer there, and, you know, him and I kind of ended up becoming, you know, a little bit close and stuff. And those pictures actually kind of got noticed, and they had reached out, and it was just, you know, one thing led to another, and they were opening they just started the sport and fitness division.
Nice.
So I was like, you know, in my mind, I was like, I didn't know what Wilhelmina was at the time. And I don't say that in a cocky sense or anything like that. I just, my knowledge of the big fashion modeling agencies.
You would have no idea.
Not that high. Exactly. So they had reached out, and it's funny because, you know, once they said like, oh, you know, I was like, I'll gladly model, like, you know, that seems like fun. Yeah. I think the selling point was, I know one of the guys who was like recruiting me at the time was like, you know, you put down all your sizes and, you know, what your suit size is, all this stuff. And I put, you know, my waist size was 36. And I remember he like emailed me immediately, was like, can you actually confirm your waist size is a 36? And I was like, I like turned around. I was like, sure. Can confirm.
I'll take a picture for it.
That's a Texas size 10-4.
I was like, yeah, 36 is me. I am 36. And he was like, okay, great. Like that's I don't know if it was rare or like, you know, a lot of agencies ask for size 36.
I'm sure they do,
It
but
must
I
just
don't
be
think they probably don't get a lot of
must be the most
6'4"
average,
yeah.
like the average size.
6'4", 36-inch waist. I don't think that's normal for the modeling world. But I'm just saying.
Whatever it was, as soon as I confirmed that, he was like, "Yep, we'd love to have you." And I was like, "Oh, perfect."
Hey, wait,
Thanks,
I'm like
thanks, Mom and
5'9",
Dad.
36-inch waist. How's that work?
Yeah.
Do you think they're looking for?
I was gonna say.
Sick waist, bud.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh
stuff.
man, that's awesome. But so how? I mean, you're back. What, 3 games now? Is it 3 or 4?
Yeah, as of how many days ago are you now?
A week and a half, maybe.
It should be 4, but I got suspended for the 4th one, so it's 3.
Oh,
Here's a story.
whole nother
Let's hear
story. Yeah.
I was just amazed. Your first, my first question, even in Instagram, was like, "Were you like ready to play hockey? Like, were you just playing men's league? Like, what were you doing? How can you? I don't think you can ever really be ready for that."
I still like to work out. Like once I got into my desk job, I kind of like I had my 2-3 month period where.
What is your desk job?
Oh, I'm slinging tech, baby. Slinging
Yeah?
software. Yeah.
Oh, Vin slings tech.
Yeah.
Company called Fastly.
Oh my gosh.
Public company. I was at Datadog. I just left Datadog.
I know exactly. Yeah, I know you're talking about.
Yeah. So it's
Excellent.
great. I'm going to be managing a team of sales development representatives,
That's
molding
sick.
young minds, training,
Nice.
helping with career development and all that. So I'm actually excited to do that as well.
You got your own SDR team. That's awesome, dude.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Helping with the coldies, the cold outreach and all that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so funny. That's wild. So how does that? So how? Go ahead. Tell us how this.
Yeah. So you're just sitting at the desk, and then
Yeah.
you get the call from your agent one day, and he's like, "Hey, we need you."
No. So I knew I was getting a little bit milky. So when I decide to go back into it, I track my calories. I work at I like to work out and stuff. So I'm always somewhat in decent shape, but I'm sure, as you guys know, skating shape,
Hockey shape and regular shape.
Skating shape is different. Yeah.
There's been summers I've trained all fucking summer, and still that first skate back, I'm at I can't. Yeah. And then you get the one guy who's like, I honestly don't feel that bad. And you're like, all right, fuck you, bro.
Yeah, screw you, buddy. Really?
Yeah, get the fuck out of my face.
No, I'm good.
But yeah, so I skated, and God's honest truth, I skated in a Sunday morning men's league 3 times, and I felt pretty good. Felt fine. Hands were non-existent, but that's really nothing out of the ordinary. So all right, everything's good. And then
check.
And I was really close with the coach in Indy and the players there, that they had reached out and they're like, hey, we're down bad. Everyone's got COVID. Can you come help us out for a game? So I was in that transition period of between 2 jobs now, because I haven't started my new job yet. That starts the 18th.
So you just had to find something to do, I guess.
Yeah, well, I was sitting at home, and one of the kids calls me and goes, hey, it's an outdoor game. I was like, ooh, kind of sick.
That was your first one back outdoor?
Yeah.
What where at Toledo?
In Toledo, Ohio, 5th, 3rd bank.
Yeah. It looked sick. It looked like it was actually, the ice was good and everything looked really nice.
It was sick. It was a little warm, so the ice was a little slow. I also felt like a 747 out there, so I was just I was just hanging on for dear life. Normally I try to throw the body, stuff like that. I was try to stay vertical right now.
Energy.
Try not to fall down.
But it actually, you know what? It went well. The score didn't go well, but I played okay.
I have a stupid question that may be stupid, but when you get that call, who buys that plane ticket? Do you buy that plane ticket to there? They do? I wasn't sure. I always wondered that, especially in the coast. I just didn't know.
I was going to go help him out the game before for their game in Norfolk. And he's like, hey, we need you tonight. And it was 12 o'clock. The game was at 6. So he's like, the only flight out is like a 3 o'clock out of LaGuardia. You'll get here at like 4:30. So I was like, okay, you know what? Fuck it. Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
So he books it. I get there 45 minutes before the flight. I go to check my bag. I didn't even know that you couldn't check bags less than an hour before the flight. So
really?
like, I'm sorry, like you can't, like I can't check that bag for you. So I had to call the coach and be like, hey, they won't let me on.
Wow.
So then I ended up, flying out the day before. We drive to Toledo, play.
Wow.
And I was only supposed to be there for a weekend, and then things kind of went well. And
you live in the little part. You stay in the little apartments there next to the fuel stack or center, or what's it called? Is that where you guys all live?
Yeah, fuel tank. Yeah,
fuel tank. Yeah, that's interesting. My son essentially played TPH for Indy Fuel like 3 or 4 years ago now, and we would go out there for like practice weekends, and I'd be like, look at the little apartments they built. That's kind of smart, actually.
Yeah, they're thick, they're nice.
They really?
Yeah, they're it's all IKEA furniture and shit, but it's it's nice. Like you have your own space too. Like the apartments are a decent size. Like, and it's just you guys. So like, you're not
that's great.
Annoying people and stuff, because
you got to practice. You walk across the parking
lot. Just you and the squad.
Yeah, exactly. It's perfect.
Yeah, that's good.
That's cool. That's really neat. How's it been? I mean, how's the experience? What was I got to know what the suspension was for, I guess. we can just jump to that.
It's all been great. I'm shocked that I actually feel as good as I do out there, because I was like, there's no way. And then like the first game, I was like, okay, like expected. And the second game, I felt like I had never left. And then the third game, I felt even better. Nice. Unfortunately, awesome. With like 4 minutes to go, I think they hard rimmed a puck in our zone, and I was just cutting across to go meet it in the other corner, and I knew that the kid was coming down, so I kind of hit the brakes and like reverse checked them a little bit. They say I got him in the head. I don't think I got, I don't know. It was a really hard collision. And
then he blew up, is essentially.
Yeah. And then I went, they threw me off the ice, and I got the word the next day that unfortunately I was suspended. So,
man down.
But the boys pulled out the big win the next night without me. So that's all that matters.
So you're now back home on and on the East Coast, right? Are you just back and going back again? You're grabbing your stuff and leaving back for Indy?
Literally driving out tomorrow. Yeah. I just had to grab my dog. I had to grab my suits and stuff, because I literally packed like a weekend bag. I have like nothing out there. It was funny.
The last 3 weeks.
Yeah. Just flipping the underwear inside out.
Nice. So what's the plan? You gonna keep playing until the job starts, or go as long as they want to keep you? What do you want to do?
You know what, the job takes precedent right now, and but I think because the job's remote, and I was
gonna say you're remote, aren't you?
Exactly.
Hopefully you're remote. Yeah.
As long as I can help out and it doesn't interfere, I'm happy to be around the game, and just happy to, my life is a lot different now. And if you asked me a month ago, 2 months ago, if I would have ever had a hockey jersey on, I would have said not a chance. But you know what, it's one thing I've learned, like, growing up and everything, is just you really can't look too far ahead, like day at a time. That's my best advice. Like, even when you're looking at the goals, just one day at a time. Like, whatever happens, like, it's gonna work itself out. So
I like it.
Like I said, I'm so pumped to be able to be on the ice and be with the Fuel and just
it's so amazing how much you love hockey, and like at your age, and how excited you are just to be back to play hockey. Like that's exciting in itself. That's really cool.
Oh, yeah, and like I used to be one of those guys too. Like when I was just starting out, like pro and stuff, like I wouldn't turn on NHL. I wouldn't play the video games and stuff. I was around it all the time. So I was just like, give me something else.
I got enough hockey in my life.
And then, you take the desk job and you're just like, I'm at 6 o'clock in the morning and I'm watching all the highlights from last night.
You're playing Be a Pro on Xbox.
Yeah, trying to bump my ratings up and shit. Like 99. Oh, it's funny because like, you try to act like you don't love it that much when you're playing it, but like, fuck it. Like, I love it. Like, who else would like sacrifice vacation to like go play, in the East Coast and go, be with a team.
You have to.
Toledo and Indiana. I don't care. Like, I love it.
Dude, anyone would. Anyone who loves hockey like they say they do would get that call and you could call me right now. I'd be like, yep, see ya. I'll go do it.
Yeah,
like
exactly. And honestly, credit to my parents too, because I was home for Christmas when I got back, or like, hanging around, and I put the call on speaker, and I would like, I just got this puppy too.
Oh, what'd you get?
I got a little golden retriever. His name's Duncan.
Oh.
He's the best.
He's gonna chew everything you have. Just so you know.
Yeah. Oh.
Everything your parents have.
But like, I'm listening to the pitch on, come help us out, all this stuff. Like, do you want to play? And my mom looks at me. She goes, just fucking go. Like, what else are you gonna do? Like, just sit up. Like, she was like, I got the dog. Like, go for a weekend, have fun. She goes, if it's your last game, like, it's better than ending. If you ended an outdoor game, like, it's way better than on green ice on Wednesday in Cal.
Yeah, that's
because of a pandemic, right? Like,
yeah.
And my dad, like, when I left hockey, my dad took it the worst because, like, he's been. My mom's my number one fan. My dad is like my number one coach. Like, just loves it. Like, would drive fucking anywhere, and like, really, really like loved to watch me play and stuff. Like, he literally, this dude drove all over, flew to Ontario, Syracuse, Utica, like anywhere, and he was like a young teenager that got his heart broken again. I was like, I went up to his room. I was like, hey, I'm going to be right back. I'm going to go to Indy real quick and play in an outdoor game. And he goes, what? That's stupid. Why would you do that? And then my mom sends me a picture of him like watching with bated breath, like watching the game.
Great.
So, 100%. Absolutely.
Yeah. It was fucking funny.
It's amazing how much it doesn't really change, even from when you're a little kid, as a parent especially. And you'll figure that out. We kind of said that earlier. But it really doesn't change. Like, it's hockey is really what it is. That's the biggest connection point. As crazy as that is, it's hockey.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's so much fun, and like, it's true what they say. You miss it once it's gone. Like, so to even however long this lasts, or if it lasts the whole season, a couple more games, whatever it is. Like, yeah. I'm grateful to have this opportunity to like,
absolutely.
And stuff. So
living the dream.
Well, again. I wish I had some good alphas for you in a higher flex P28 extended, but I don't right now.
I got them, buddy. I got them.
Where'd you get them from?
So one of my shooting coaches, his name's Josh Roble. Guy's he actually like softened up my mitts a little bit. So like, that's really, really saying something. He was like, I think he's sponsored by Warrior, or how to deal with him. He's got some pull there. So I was like, hey, I can't be using these cheese toast.
Dude,
sticks.
Those things are bad.
Granted, like, I'm the player that should be using them. Like, I go high off the glass, like this and that. But like,
they're bad.
My thought process is, give me a good stick. Maybe I can handle passes. Or oh fuck. But he helped me out a little bit. So
that's awesome. I wish I had him. What's funny is I did have them. I did have those, and I had a kid at Ohio State. His sticks didn't come in for Bauer, and he was like a 9,500 flex P28, and I gave him 4 Warriors, and I think he might be still using them because I don't think his sticks came yet. But that's that. I did have a few, but that was a while ago. Sorry, still feel like a failure.
No. You're totally fine. But like, shocked I chose that curve where you're like, you should be using.
Yeah, I was just I see a lot of P28 though. That toe curve is kind of crazy. Like,
yeah, it's pretty popular.
It is popular, but I could never use it. Of course I couldn't use many curves. So it's all right.
I will say, once you like, that's actually what this guy kind of taught. Like, once you learn how to use that curve properly, like,
once you get used to it,
it's night and day. Like you just kind of like catch that puck in the toe of it, like in the pocket, and you just sling the thing.
Any of these guys you're talking about from Indy, or are they all from in Jersey area? Like Prentice and Prentice.
He means
right?
like you're training people.
Yeah. So Prentice is Connecticut, PHP, Prentice Human Performance. He's the best. Like anybody looking for anything as far as, training, nutrition. He's even got an app out too that deals with like hip injury prevention, which is so big, and it's worth it. But yeah, he's my go-to guy with anything like that. My skill guy realistically is Josh Roble. He's out of Canada though. He's out of I think Brampton or Toronto area-ish.
I knew that name, and I don't know why.
I just gave Prentice Performance the follow on Instagram.
Yeah, and that's big for him too, because he was normally like very not secretive, but like he wasn't big into like posting and shit like that. It was kind of like
it's kind of the only way you can grow some of your business now too. That's the crazy part.
There's a video on YouTube, if you Google it or YouTube it, from Players Tribune, and like Johnny Quick's in it, Kevin Shattenkirk, and it shows you like the old gym we used to train at. It's like this little shoebox, like just. Like it's so sick. It was so cool. We used to drag sleds in the parking lot and shit.
That's awesome.
Might see a cameo from someone special. Wink, wink. And now he's got this big, like state-of-the-art, like gym above like one of the rinks, and it's nasty. It's got
That's awesome,
it's got everything. So it's pretty cool. And then the only other guy I would say too is Chris Bergano, who's out of Connecticut. Total Hockey Development. When I couldn't get up to Josh, I would use Grags all the time, and he's nasty too. Like he got me moving my big old boots. So
good.
Well, that's pretty interesting. What a story. You guys have anything else before we let him get back to what he was doing? Trying to get back to Indianapolis.
Gotta let the puppy out, probably.
He's with grandma. He's all good.
There you go.
No, I got nothing for you. I appreciate your time. We're rooting for you, obviously. So, I mean, we're always kind of following you where you're at, what you're doing. So good luck moving forward. I wish I talked to you like a little while ago, because I work at ADP and I don't, my boss just quit like last week. So we have a nice SE position open here for you.
Okay.
So good luck at Fastly. And I got nothing else. So just thank you again for your time.
Thank you, man. It was a pleasure. Absolute pleasure, guys.
Yeah, man. Thank you very much. And, you can talk to the Indy equipment manager again. We'd like to buy their stuff, even though they're Warriors junk. And if you ever want to sell those 12 CCMs or keep a couple, let us know. Other than that, no, man, really, on a serious note, thank you. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for sharing your story. The story's awesome. I mean, every story in hockey is pretty awesome, but yours is especially special. Definitely appreciate that. Thank you.
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate what you guys are doing. Anybody who likes to talk hockey and just help get the message out there, get the game as fully grown as we can. That's obviously the goal. We're all anybody who puts on a pair of skates obviously is family or talks the game. So, credit to you guys as well. So
thanks.
Good stuff, boys.
Thank you very much. Keith, you
Thanks,
got anything, Keith?
Oh, this has been great. People are going to love it. Thanks a lot, Wiz. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. You don't have to hang up. We'll end it, but we can talk for 5 minutes.
All right.
Perfect.
Thank you.